Welcome to the SAOR Method podcast, where we have real conversations with gym owners, personal trainers, and health and wellness professionals to bring you the no fluff, real life conversations with what it takes to scale and grow your health or fitness business. Today, I'm joined by Monique Nieuwpoort, a fitness business consultant here at SAOR Consultancy, as well as a multi-site franchise owner. Monique didn't just coach, she scaled her businesses and now is handing over those knowledge and tools to you. Enjoy the episode. As we're just getting started here, of course, we would massively appreciate a like, a thumbs up, and a subscribe. There is plenty of more incredible episodes coming. Thank you so much for joining me today. Conversation I have been looking forward to for quite some time now. And I suppose where I would love to go first, actually, is what was your why behind your first fitness business or your first business venture in fitness?
My why? Because I did all my training at university and it wasn't something that was really igniting me. So, and I always in the back of my head wanted to be a personal trainer. But I didn't think that was a option. It wasn't a good enough option for me, but it never left. So after uni, I got certified as a personal trainer because I loved everything about sport. I loved the competition side of it. I loved how I felt being fit and healthy. It had brought me so many good things in life that I wanted to continue doing that. But it was, I would say, maybe a selfish endeavor. It wasn't, you hear a lot in the beginning of like, I want to help people. I still want to help people. For me personally, it was, I want to get the best out of me.
Yeah, I get that. And you want something different. Was it a drive to be self-employed? Right.
Not back then, but I think it really became that did maybe unconsciously come into it as well because I was moving to a different country. And in that country, I couldn't get a job because I wasn't a citizen of the country. So I had to create a job, essentially. So that did push me somewhere. And from there, I worked in I worked in a big box gym in New Caledonia. I worked at for the Center of Obesity and Overweight. And I was working with other people and in teams, but I did realize really quickly the French culture, the French way of being in business was very different to Australian culture and the Australian way of doing it. And it didn't sit with me. And so I did get pushed very quickly to want to work as my own boss.
In what way? In what way?
Is it different? Yeah. So in France, you can feel pretty disempowered. Like membership, leadership doesn't doesn't give a lot of responsibility and freedom to the employee. So you are like, specifically where this is in my instance, I suppose, in the big box gym where I was working, they had video cameras up, and if you sat down, you got told off for sitting down at the front desk, or if you didn't do enough tours around um, the gym, you were very highly surveyed and you didn't have you weren't given much responsibility, much freedoms. As in Australia, and this reflects in other industries as well that I've seen along the way. In Australia, there's almost the opposite of maybe too much responsibility and freedom, where people find that hard to kind of step up to that. There's less guardrails in place, I suppose. But that was something that my parents were business owners. It's kind of, I was exposed to that since I was born. My parents have never worked for anyone else. So it was just normal for me to just step up and be your own boss.
How did that lead to you then becoming a fitness franchise owner at F45 and multi-site franchise owner as well?
So I had been looking at F45 when I was over there, living and working over there, and seeing it kind of grow. And I had quite a few friends here that had done it themselves and they really loved it. And it was quite small. It was a small franchise at this point. And I was watching it grow, and I knew in the back of my head that I wanted to open a gym. I was in a strange country. I could hardly speak the language. I didn't have many contacts. And I was just like, this is never going to happen for me. And I was watching it happen. And I thought, no, I really want to do this. I want to open my own gym. I want to do it. Anyway, 25, I was 26. No fear, right? the whole world's your oyster. So I was like, I'm going to do this. And I started to speak to a I would say girl at the time, she's now a young lady. Over there, we started to talk about, she wanted to, I wanted to, and then we thought, okay, let's do this together. And we said, let's go for it. And so that's how we got the first one open. And then it went really well. We put heaps of energy in it. We were young. We didn't have any attachments, any kids or anything. So you just went after that. We had lots to lose, what people thought. We had people saying, it's never going to work over here. People are never going to pay that type of money. It's too specific. Group coaching, it's never been done over there. And we had a lot to lose in reputation, I suppose. So we just went all in. We put lots of energy into it. We were dropping flyers on cars and going to businesses. We did the whole bang lot. And it went crazy. Went absolutely crazy. We had too many people. And yeah, it went really fast. And that's why we decided 2 years later to open the second one, which is a different story. It did not go crazy. It was quite a lot harder, but because, it was COVID and, just before COVID actually. But then we started to have children and like lots of other factors. And
Life.
that was a bit hard. Life. And that was a bit harder
yeah.
to get off the ground. Yeah. And also when we opened the first franchise, we just got green lights all along the way. They just said, yep, you can do that. Yep. But by the time we went to open the second one, they had grown and they were much more streamlined, much harder. You had to film everything. Like we've got this, you had to measure it. You had to have, we had to do this over Zoom. It was a lot harder to open. And so we had a bit more red tape to get through. So we opened late and yeah.
That's something that a lot of our members actually go through. And actually, in the last couple of months alone, we've had, and this is just from the members that I work with, we'd have 3 members that went from either a big box gym PT or online coach to now having their own studios. And I can relate to that also myself, having opened my own studio. What were the biggest challenges from going from, okay, I'm again, when you're working at a big box gym, there's not massive responsibility. You can leave there in the morning. Right, pretty much. You may have a little bit of a contract, but it's a completely different commitment to getting, a lease on a building for, 4 years, 5 years, or 10 years plus. How did you find that transition from, okay, I'm relatively free to now being, wow, I've got this beast that is, having massive overheads each month and essentially need to feed that beast and get it up and running. What was that phase like for you?
Yeah, because it's not the same job, right? You think there's an extension of being a personal trainer, but it's not at all. It's a business owner and to a personal trainer. It's not the same job. So yeah, you literally have to you're stepping into a new job. And I mean, for me, it was actually quite a welcome transition because I like the business side. I like being multifaceted rather than just doing personal training. And I'd also had my background at university and in business as well. So that kind of, I suppose, and so it was a welcome transition for me. I was very excited. I felt very stressed. Like I was the first person to hand me their credit card. I was like, what are you doing? Trusting me with your money each month. Like I was never going to run away with it. But I'm like, wow, people are just saying, hey, here's my credit card. Have all of my details. That was a strange feeling. And I remember sitting down with my business partner and talking about it and her saying the same thing. It's funny to have people coming to you and just having complete trust in you. And we would have people say to us like, there'll be something wrong with their debits or something would go on or whatever. They say, oh, we trust you. Just redo it or just do something. And that trust you have to trust yourself, right, to be able to let people trust you. But yeah,
Sure.
it was welcome.
From the personal trainer who's a business owner from the business owner who's a personal trainer. I think that's one of the hardest transitions that we see for the majority of our members. What would you say was the most confronting factor that you had to overcome? Because again, being a personal trainer and selling is probably one of the biggest factors that a lot of our members have to overcome is getting comfortable in that sales environment. Did that come naturally to you, given your background and experience in business and that you enjoyed the business? Or was it still something that you had to develop as a skill?
So to be completely honest with you, selling was inherent for us. We didn't call up and sell. And it's not a big, there's a bit contradictory to what we're teaching now, but it was because, and this is, I think, my underlying messaging here is that if you really embody and you are inherently a walking, talking sales person without selling a day in your life, you won't have to, because we love the product, we love the service, we did it ourselves, we trained every single day. We loved, particularly my business partner, she really loved socializing and talking to people and creating events, and and I love that hype, and that's, you're selling, right, as you're doing that. So it was inherent for us, it came quite easily, despite the fact that we weren't making calls. And I think we had such demand in the beginning that because we were inherently selling, we were walking around selling ourselves, we didn't have to get on the calls and do it that way for quite a time.
And would you say that being associated with a franchise did help that, or the fact that it was so unknown in that region? Do you think that made a difference?
I think they didn't know the F45 franchise whatsoever over there. We had to introduce it to them. That was probably one of the hardest things that we had to try and do, is like convey that. I do feel like being part of franchise was good for us in the beginning, especially being so young, because it gave us that framework. Like, they gave us all the marketing materials. They gave, like, that was already done for us. So yes, that definitely did help.
Did being associated with the franchise help you
Yeah.
sell, do you think? Or was it purely just the
Yes.
fact that you were in something new and fresh and shiny and exciting?
Yeah, so it wasn't like the preconceived idea of the franchise that helped, because I said there wasn't any of that, but the marketing material and the extra resources that we got behind that did help, yes. And that kind of allowed us to create a streamlined business that made sense holistically. Like, it was coherent, because we weren't just opening our own little structure and trying to think, okay, what's my messaging and what are my values and what's my vision and who do I want? We didn't have to do that. That all kind of naturally came with it. So yeah, definitely did help. But then franchises do also come with limitations out the other end as well.
And yeah,
Yeah.
that leads into why a franchise then. What was the decision behind leaning into a franchise as opposed to, your own venture?
This was the biggest conversation that I had with my business partner at the time, like doing our own thing and doing a franchise. And we spent a lot of time saying, okay, what road do we go down here? And I wouldn't do any old franchise. We really researched it, and one of the deciding factors as to why we chose it was because of the vision that they had and the style of training that they had. Like, we all know F45 is, it's on the screen and it's very easy to follow. They were very clear in their vision. And so we clearly saw the vision. And then I think also being so young, it felt quite comforting to be part of in a structure that already existed, rather than trying to create all of that ourselves.
Yeah, that makes sense. Was
And I really do I speak to F45 today, as well as highly of it as this franchise that they've created. I mean, they've overcome a lot of difficulties. They've had some hard times there as well, but the foundation is quite well done.
and would you call it a success, that venture?
Yes, absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah. And then that was site one, hype, exciting, fun, 100 miles an hour. Like, site two, then what led to that decision?
Yeah. So we're coming off the back of this 100 miles an hour fun. But we'd also learned quite a lot through business. We learned how to deal with people and like a lot of different things. So going into site two, I mean, you essentially just multiply your problems, right? And you have to have a really clear structure to multiply your revenue at the same time, because you are multiplying your problems. You've got double rent, double wages, and then trying to create a team, all of that, and we'll grow with ourselves, having kids, all of the rest, and maturing. So we no longer wanted to be 150% in the business with the hype. We also wanted to reserve a little bit of that for our families and for traveling and for building our homes and creating nice homes. And so we just had less, not that we had less energy physically, but we had less energy to give to that one project. And then there was also dividing of because we were two, so it was a dividing of our time and energy. So when there was one, we did everything together. So we did all of the events together. We did, we gave classes still. We did everything together. When there's two, you can't anymore because you've got to time management's really important. So we had to split up. And one managed one gym a little bit more, one managed the other gym a little bit more. We had specific tasks that were separate. And so we had to start dividing all of that. But that's hard to get to that point, right? Like, what's each one's strength, how to make that equal, making sure one doesn't burn out, and they're both supported. Like, it's hard to get to a point of that working for you. And then essentially extending the team, like finding more personal trainers. What was really always important to us was building a strong team culture. And that's one thing that we did do really well, is that we would have, when we had our team meetings, we don't have to pay anyone to rock up to our team meetings. They just all were there. Like, it wasn't even a question. And we had events and we were all quite close knit. As you grow, it's hard to be as close knit. You're going to get lots of different people in the mix with lots of different values, with lots of different, visions and views and availabilities, and it's hard to keep, when you're small, it's kind of easy to do that, and it gets a little bit harder as you grow. You have to step up as a leader and be a better leader.
That was my next question. What is your definition of a successful team, and how much does leadership play a part in that, or is it more just the people?
So yeah, it's definitely a shared responsibility. So you will have, I was just on a call with another client talking about this before. You will have, I see it as having some people that are a part of the team that have their resistance and their limitations that is limiting them to be able to come into the team culture that's already established. But then and that's kind of their responsibility, right? They have to work through that. Then you have you as a leader and your capacity to impact and influence, and your responsibility to be able to influence people and bring them into the strong culture that you've already created. And then you have kind of people in the middle that could sway either way. You have people that are easily impacting influence, so they want to come into that group, because essentially it's a group and humans don't want to be rejected from a group. It's a part of us. So they're going to insert into the culture that's already established. But if that culture, because leadership is weak, is weak, then they're going to start not inserting in correctly because it's not present, right? So if your leadership is a little bit weak, they can go to the resistance and the limiting side of things, and that starts to split up your culture, and that weakens the culture. So yeah, very important to be able to impact and influence people as a leader, to bring a cohesive feeling to the group, like we're all here for the same reasons, and the underlying values of why we're doing this is shared.
With that side of things, is that something you feel naturally in a leadership role? Because I know for me, I'm not totally comfortable there. I'm getting there, but definitely not. I'm very much a lead by example and don't talk a lot, and maybe that can be a limitation for myself as well. I'm not the best communicator, but I will try lead by my actions. I think that comes from my background in sport as well. And how do you find that in terms of your communication and the styles of communication? And are you a talker or a doer? Do you find that nice balance between the both, leading from the front as well as being able to effectively communicate that to your team?
Yeah, I think I'm more of a talker than a doer, to be honest. But in the beginning, we were doing it all. So we were definitely leading from the front. We were only two of us. We were doing sessions from 5 until we're getting home at 9 at night, because we're doing the cleaning. We did everything. So we definitely led by example. And even as we brought on the free coaches, we were still doing the majority of the sessions, and and then just slowly we started to be able to switch. And by the time we got to the multi-sites, we started to, have that example already set, because we knew what was possible. We knew the level now. And we also had some really, really great hires right in the beginning. So they extended that for us. And one of them became my head coach and then became my life partner. That helped. But we built off leading by example for sure, and having a high level of physical. Oh, I've forgotten the word. Being very present in the business, definitely by doing. And then I suppose it goes more by saying, I suppose, because you know what's possible from there. And I would say coming into the position that I hold now, naturally I feel this role better, being able to see from my experience in the past of the doing. I know I was never meant to do that long term and forever. Like that wasn't always, I was going to have a part where a time where that was going to be past Monique. Learning, because I do learn very richly, deeply from my experiences, and I try to be very objective in saying this is where I did wrong, this is where I really messed up, and being very honest and open about that to myself, which allows me to do that to others as well. But also saying this is what I did really well, this is what really good, this is what I can pride myself on, this is what I can, hold as a competence and as a skill now.
Say whatever, and I'm sure you do get this question, as do I. Say a member was coming to you now saying, okay, site one is booming, right? The numbers are where they need to be, staff are where they need to be. I feel like the next logical step is a second site. What would you say to them?
I would say that even if business is booming, your structures need to be clear, your processes and your structures, because business can be booming because you're doing everything and because everything's like manually done. You're there and you're present, you're firing off at 100%. And that's why it's booming. But you can't do that when there's a second site. You will absolutely burn out. It's physically not possible. You can't be 100% there and 100% there. So if you haven't trained your staff well, if you haven't got like a head coach or a lead instructor or someone in place to step in and hold the line between the other coaches and instructors and you, or the other studio while you're on the other one, you're going to burn out. And so what's the point being in business if you're completely burnt out and then you can't think clearly and you don't want to show up anymore? So structures and systems, I would get them really clear, like clear communication channels, clear way of like, how do we handle this if this happens? So if you have to step out and you're not there, there is always someone in the gym who can sell, who can retain, who can, do everything, because that's all been documented. They know exactly how to find that information and what to do. And your values and your vision are very clear, so they don't start going off on a tangent, maybe being excellent at their job, but the business starts taking a turn that this is not the business I started, because the values and the vision wasn't clear enough.
And with that, unless Elon Musk creates some sort of robot that's a clone of us that can run a second site, how do you feel like going forward? Because it's a huge area of discussion at the minute, right? It is AI, and we see new software is bringing it in, and we're creating digital agents for us. Do you feel like if you were to scale now and you had a second site, do you feel like AI would assist in that scaling and sustainability of that scaling?
Yeah, absolutely. In the behind the scenes, and it would allow the human to step up even more. Like it would free up the human to be more human, right? To be more with the people and have better conversations with the people and step into the events, be more present, because you're not behind the scenes and dealing with all of that. Yeah, for sure. Having that structure is the flow in for the sales, having follow-ups and your systems and your spreadsheets and your CRMs and all of that just to handle. So one of the big things that was the biggest difficulty for us was being in New Caledonia. There were very, very few companies that would take online payments because we had the Pacific franc, but it wasn't interesting for them to open up to these islands. yeah, or certain countries. So we had to go through someone, we had to find a whole way to do that. And there was bugs, right? Because it wasn't, we were, and then something went wrong with us. We were the last ones that they honestly were going to deal with because we weren't Australia or France. So yeah, having all of that could be streamlined, and having AI have its part in all of that as well to help to deal with refused payments, retaining clients, and behind the scenes would help immensely. Yeah, for sure.
I think that's a big fear amongst coaches now, is that, we're going to be replaced as personal trainers. And I think that's the wrong
Oh,
way to look at it. I think that
yeah,
exactly the way you framed it is the right way of looking at it. We look at it as a assistance rather than a
yeah,
replacement. I feel like human connection is always going to be there. At least I hope that it will always be there in our lifetime. But using it to assist you in the tasks that are like, admin is heavy, both physically and mentally. I personally
admin's
despise
heavy.
admin. Yeah, it is. So I have also been using
Go
AI to
through.
assist me with that.
Yeah, so we'd go through and like we'd get the bank statements of all of the um transactions that had passed, and we get that from the bank, and then we had to match it to all of the clients in the CRM and then tick it off manually. You just sit there, and AI can do all of that in like
Yeah.
that, and it would take me
Seconds.
like 3 or 4 days to do it. So even just that was the first thing that comes to my head would be magic. Yeah,
Yeah.
I do see AI like in the future for boutique gyms. I see people wanting to be a part of boutique gyms more and more if that human element is really truly present, because we're more connected than ever. We think that we've got information at our fingertips, like you don't. And so being a personal trainer or a coach, or it's no longer about information and being the most, oh yeah, this is the best way to do it. No, it's about being there for the person, like the mental, the emotional, the connection, the community. And this is going to boom in the next few years. It is absolutely going to explode because people are realizing what they're missing. There's been a bit like 5 years of like a lull of like, not a lull, but not like a, wow, this is so amazing. Let's just AI my whole life. And this always happens when immense change happens. There's always like this, "Oh," and then humans go, "Oh, actually, wait a minute, we've lost something here," and then it kind of
Mhm.
balances itself back out again. And that's what it's going to start to do. People are going to they're going to hire PTs for a different reason, but they're still going to be in demand.
I
Yeah.
agree. In a world of endless information at our fingertips, now it's
Mm,
down to action over information. And I see
yeah.
this a lot with our members as well, and a lot of the business owners that we work with. They're stuck in this kind of analysis paralysis stage where they're just consuming so much information, be that on social media
Uh,
or talking to ChatGPT or just general Googling or YouTube. It's so information heavy, and then they almost feel like, well, which one do I listen to? Do I go
yeah.
all in AI? Do I start to implement certain elements of it? Do I completely ignore it and just pretend it doesn't even exist? And then you're just stuck in the state of, what do I do next? And I feel like that's where we come in. That's the power that we have at SAOR, is to guide business owners down what the correct path is through your experience and mine and everyone here at SAOR. And I suppose, what was that transition then like for you? You know, how did you come from multi-franchise owner to into SAOR?
Yeah. Well, big life change. I was like almost on the verge of civil war, broke out in New Caledonia, and I left. So I came to Australia and back to Australia, and I was thinking, oh well, kind of want to open my own wellness space or fitness space again. And but life had changed. I just had a baby, and then I saw the opportunity to work with Sarah and flip over to the consultancy side. And it really just for the where I was at the energy was a huge thing. Like I felt like I had attained the information that I needed for the doing, the up at 5 a.m. and asleep at 10 p.m. And the physically being present, that I wanted to step into consultant coach mode. I had started a little bit to transition into it, but more on like a mental, emotional side of it, not into business coaching specifically. I hadn't used my past experience to help others at that point. And it felt quite natural to do that. I must admit, I've had some failures in business, like some really difficult times. Like we've had some really, really difficult times. And that was kind of what held me back to really step up and coach and consult. But I've also had awesome experiences, really, really positive ones. And so in the weighing up of that, I was speaking to someone the other day and said, I would much rather listen to someone who's battled it out in business rather than has just like floated along, because you know the ins and outs, you know what works and what doesn't work. You know where you went wrong, you know where you went right. You know your strength and your weakness. There's a lot more of self-knowing. Like I think any entrepreneur who is listening to me right now knows that they learned way more about themselves right down there in the depths than they ever did up on the mountaintops. And so that conversation was quite striking to me, thinking, yeah, I am ready to do this because I visited the valleys and I visited the mountaintops. And that kind of balances out to a very holistic business experience in this industry.
And if you were to do it today, to open a fitness business or a wellness business again, do you feel like the challenges that you faced, when you were opening your first studio, would be the same today, or would be completely different? Because a lot of people come to me and say, "Oh yeah, but you opened your studio 8 years ago. It was easier then. There was more money and
Yeah.
all these things." Yeah, 2 years into business, we were smashed with a worldwide pandemic that closed my business for 18 months. So not all that easy, But today, do you think you'd face the same challenges, or would they be drastically different?
I think that would be quite similar because for me, it's not about the business. It's about the owner of the business. So, okay, yeah, there are external factors that you can't control. Like if the demand isn't there, if the country's shutting down, like you can be the best person, the best leader ever, and your business not work, right? That's a possibility. But in normal times, it's the owner that makes the difference. Like if you have there's certain qualities to be a business owner that you just have to have. Like you have to want to speak to people. You have to want to create connection. If you have some type of wounding which makes you not want to connect to people because you're afraid of being vulnerable or being wrong, or you're afraid of anything, that's going to affect you as a business owner, right? Because you won't be able to sell. You will see selling as uh as either criticism or as conflict. When now I don't see selling as, even if someone is objecting to me, it's not a conflict. Where I've had conversation with other business owners where they feel that's conflictual, you know? And so if you as a person, as an owner, have personal things going on, this is going to reflect out on your business as well. And you won't be able to pick up the phone and have a positive, uplifting selling conversation. You won't be able to walk out onto your floor as a trainer and uplift them and motivate them. And you won't be able to, if grit isn't there or resilience isn't there, you don't have these qualities, you're going to want to shut the doors after or stop showing up. But if you have certain, all of the right qualities to be an entrepreneur, you can make any business work if the demand is there. Okay. And so having observed quite a lot of business owners now, I will have one business owner over here who's really struggling and finding it really difficult. And in the same business model, everything over here is absolutely flying. He's absolutely doing an awesome job. It's in the same country, it's the same business model, everything's exactly the same. Why is one working? Why is one not working? Yeah. And for the one that it's not working, it's always, it's the area that we're in. It's the economic times. It's this, it's him and them. It's because personal trainers aren't serious anymore. The one where it's working, they're saying, oh yeah, no, there's heaps of people out there. I'm doing, I show up a little bit more, or, that's fine. It's someone, I'll just get back on the phone. They've got different skill sets and different, different personality traits that are making that a success.
Yeah, and I think that was one thing that a couple people said to me when I opened my studio. It was a relatively small, it's a big enough city, about 200,000 people, I suppose, maybe more in the city, west of Ireland, Galway. Shout out to all my Galway peeps out there, wonderful part of the world. Um, but it's quite small, and now it's like hyper competitive. Like I said, when I opened, there was like two other studios, I want to say, within like a 3 to 5 kilometer radius, boutique fitness studios, let's say. There was a couple more big box then. And when I was leaving, there was probably about 5 or 6. And everyone was like, well, there's another studio opening up the road and another gym opening there. And she's like, is business going okay? And I'd never even factored that into, it never even entered my mind that there was competition. I think it's because I was so true to what I did and what how I coached and how I ran my business. That's all I was solely focused on. There wasn't any looking
Yeah,
over the fence, and there wasn't
for
as easy
sure.
to look over the fence where, social media nowadays is a very different space. It's always in your face. The algorithm gives you what you're looking at. So it's very easy for business owners to look over the fence and to get distracted and almost to feel bad that they're not doing enough. And I've had members say this to me quite a lot when they see other people online, sharing successes and the wins of their business and their clients. And they feel like they're not doing enough, even though their business might be incredible. They're hitting, 20K months. They've got 200 or 300 active
Yeah,
members. They have a great team. The business is going well, but they just, because they're looking at it, they feel like they're not doing enough. And I think that's a major challenge. And what would you say
yeah,
to people out there who do feel like that? Because I'm sure so many business owners do feel like this because we're always looking at the
for sure.
standouts that's going on out there.
Yeah, and that really sucks, right? Because it robs you of that really important moment of pride and wow, I'm going really well. It robs you of that because it's never good enough. And that's really essential to feel that accomplishment, because that's what spurs you on to accomplish more and more and more. And so it can be like a fact from someone else's point of view that you're doing well, because look at your team, look at your numbers, look at everything that's going on. But if you are comparing yourself to other people and you're robbing yourself of that accomplishment, then you can't be spurred on to do better and better. And that's what caps people as well, because it's never enough. So yeah, I would say to these business owners, just keep on doing what you're doing that is working. But more importantly, I would say, to move to the next stage of your leadership or your scaling, are you where are your limitations? Like, what are you refusing to do? Where is your resistance? What do you not really, really not want to do? What do you have a really negative point of view of? Like, I will never do that. Look at that thing. I'm not saying do that thing, but you need to balance it so you don't have that reaction to it, because that is what is limiting you. So I would say self-exploration. If you're in fear of other people, then why is that wavering your confidence? Why is that? Why aren't you allowing yourself to feel like accomplishment or pride? You know, I would say at that point, I would say start to explore within yourself. Well, this is my thing, right? I really love people's inner worlds. It's so interesting to me, people's inner worlds and how that impacts people. So yeah, I would say self-knowledge, understanding yourself.
Do the
What is
burpees.
that? Sorry?
As I say to my members, do the burpees. Everyone hates a burpee, but they do have a
Do
massive
that thing that
positive,
you hate.
trade off. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, complete love hate relationship. But it's about, and I think that's, if I was to sum up my 13 years in business, I've pretty much always worked for myself as well from 18. I think that's what, and I struggle to call myself successful, but I guess I am on the grand scheme of things. I built really good businesses and then built myself a really good lifestyle. But that was, I think that's what pushed me forward. And I think my sport, actually, the sport of bodybuilding, helped me to do that, because sport and bodybuilding, more often than not, it's doing the things that you really don't want to do in states of pure exhaustion most of the time.
Yeah.
And I think
Yeah.
that, again, there's positive and negative trade-offs to that as well, that maybe I get too into a certain thing, right? Like if I open a new business or start a new venture, it's like I'm all in and I will go till I am physically exhausted. So there's also limitations to that also. But that in
Yeah.
a nutshell, if you were to ask me what is business or success or what does that look like, it's doing the things that you don't want to do and
Yeah.
becoming really, really good at that. Whatever it looks like to you,
Mhm.
whether that's sales, whether that's marketing, whether that's uh, actually coaching. I think it all starts with actually being a good coach ultimately. And that's something that may be forgotten nowadays with the amount of online coaches popping up online. I think it all starts with actually being a good person, being a good coach, and then working on the business
Sure.
things
Yeah.
that you need to work on.
Mm.
And in this incredible world that we're living in now, and the advancements in technology and the way the industry is changing, we're seeing this immersion into wellness and longevity, which I'm all here for, by the way. Love this, that it's come away from ketosis diets and all those things. They still have their place in society and they always will. But I'm loving the fact that we're leaning now more into the wellness space. So with that, where do you see the fitness industry going over the next 12 months, let's say? What do you see is going to be the big standout changes, or things that business owners should be aware of?
Um, yeah, the wellness side, um, the holistic wellness side of people, and people are, uh, maybe it's just the world that I live in, but people are wanting to go a little bit deeper. You know, losing the 15 kilos now or becoming stronger, it's no longer enough. You know, it's more about for what reason do I want to lose 15 kilos? You know, because I want self-confidence, and that's where people are living. You know, they're living in this richer, um, people are becoming less wanting to sacrifice everything to be successful. It's more of I want to be well balanced. I want to have my family is going great. I want to have my job. I want to have my health and fitness, and I want this to all be balanced out. It's a little bit more holistic. Like I read an article the other day. Parents of our age, parents are spending way more time with their children than my parents' generation, but are in a harder spot financially. So they're choosing to balance, you know, they're choosing saying, okay, I'm not taking everything away from my family just to be successful in my career. I want balance. So let us maybe struggle a little bit more, but at least I get to spend time with my children. And that's what people are looking for. So that's one thing, bringing holistic into your business. So we can see that already. We got gyms that are open, they got saunas and ice baths and stuff in there and wellness things. And so this will go really, really big. And human connection. This is really truly connecting with the human. That will be front and foremost. And the second thing is tracking. You and I spoke about this the other day. Tracking. So what tying back into a goal. People no longer just want to be doing things just to do things anymore. You know, like getting in the sauna and ice bath. They want to like, how is this actually making me better? I want to see. And with all of the tech that we have to be able to track that, just like people have been tracking, losing weight, like 5 kilos a month or whatever, when they've got a goal, is going to be tracking their heart rate, their sleep, their variability, um, everything. So tracking is another big one as well.
Yeah. Yeah, metabolic age, we're seeing that pop up a lot now. A lot of people are
Yeah.
focusing on, how young can I get internally. Um,
Reversing their
and
age.
it's, yeah, and it's
Yeah.
huge, and that is the way. I completely agree with you as well. I believe that's the way the industry is going. It's strange. It's more of a holistic approach physically to what
Yeah.
they're doing, like with the immersion of yoga, Pilates. They've always been there, but I feel like now they're more popular. And I think Pilates actually is one of the fastest expanding studio
In
chains
Australia,
across
it
the
is.
US right now. And the same,
In
yeah.
Australia
So
too.
it's
Yeah.
yeah, so that's becoming huge. But it's combining that experience and that space within your studio with the actual hardcore data, like, which is it's a strange one to find that nice mix. You're providing all this data, but you're providing a super safe space where they're just ultimately switched off. But then afterwards, it's like everyone's just grabbing their phone, being like, "Oh, what did I do there? How much time did I spend in my heart rate zones and all these
Mm.
things?" So it's finding that nice balance between the two, and I feel like that is going to be the sweet spot, or the recipe for success in studios to keep being up with the demand.
Yeah.
That is going to be there.
Yeah, and personalization as well. I think
Mhm.
we're in an era where we can have like group studios, but then personalize it to each person with AR, right? So you can
Yes.
know uh, what your clients, what their goals are, and very easily track them towards their goals and hold them accountable and keep them motivated through that personalization. Even when they're training, you've got 250 members in your gym, and it's
Mhm.
becoming easier and easier to do that. So as long as you as the human are ready to have that conversation with people, to keep them accountable, motivated, y- that's humans' job, to have the empathy, to have the motivation, the accountability, and help people achieve their goals in that sense with a deeper sense of meaning and a personalized approach, even in a group environment.
Agree completely. Monique, thank you so much for joining me today. I always love our conversations. We tend to go deep, but we cover some incredible topics. And I feel like any entrepreneur, business owner, be that in the health, fitness, wellness, or allied health professionals, will gain some insights here today. Of course, Monique, we can find you on socials as well as across the SAOR network, obviously on our website. Links will be below, or links will be somewhere, but final message, final statement to business owners out there right now.
Do I have some time to think about this?
Sure. Yeah.
The one thing that you're resisting right now in business, behind that, when you confront it, is your superpower. The one thing that you do not want to do, that triggers you, that you want to bury your head in the sand, that makes you angry, that you want to run out of the room from, that you want to blame everyone else on. The one thing that you want to put the blame on everyone else for, that when you stop running from it, when you stop being triggered by it and you transform it, you look into it, you understand why you're having these reactions, why you don't want to do it, why you're avoiding it, neglecting it. When you do that, it will become the thing that takes you to your next level. It will open up. Behind it is the gold. Behind it is the gem. And because it's a part of yourself that is like screaming out, like, I am here and you can't see me yet. And that's why all you know, this negative reaction is coming to it. When you face it and you realize it, you will and you integrate it, it will multiply, it will give 100 fold, and it will be your strength. I've
Fire
learned
me
that
up.
personally. I've observed it in every business owner I've worked with. I observed it in my children, in my friends, in everyone. That's always the goal right there.
Face your fears, overcome it. Sky's the limit. Amazing. Thank you so much, Monique.
No worries. Thank you, Dara.